because it's always going to hold you back. You can avoid the pain for your entire life, but you're also going to be avoiding the pleasure that you would get if you overcame that.
It's a mirror of is our relationship, am I doing as well in our relationship as I thought I was? Right. And so I think what the mirror is, it's the reality.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode where we talked about the top 10 things that we wish we learned in school, but we didn't. Today, for episode number 514, we are going to teach you how to stop running from difficult truths.
So let's start out here defining what a difficult truth is. A difficult truth is something that you become aware of about yourself or about the world or the way things work that you weren't aware of previously. Kevin's giggling over there. Giggly moods today. Also, I want everyone to know that if you're watching on YouTube, we have green and red lights in the studio here today.
Because it's Christmas week.
As well as a backdrop with a fireplace in the background and a Christmas tree. It's Christmas week.
I was going to get us a mini Christmas tree to put on top of the table, but there was just not enough time.
Not enough time?
But I will. So you were saying?
So this is going to be about difficult truths and also why they're valuable. So I have a belief. I believe that all of us are either truth seekers or truth avoiders, and I think we've all been both. It's what percent are you more and more percent on the truth side. So if you know of anyone, if you're out there listening, let me give you an example. Think of someone right now who is unbelievably growth oriented. Okay, they have huge goals and they just really, really want to grow. Their main focus is how do I get better? How do I get better? How do I maximize my potential? How do I give more? How do I become more? Okay, do you have that person in your consciousness? All right, think of that person. That person most likely is a seeker of truth. Because if you don't have the truth, it's difficult to make good decisions. So for example, I often use the story of a 2-year-old who crawls into the street and gets hit by a car. They didn't know the truth. They weren't aware that cars were dangerous. Okay, so they didn't make a decision based on conscious awareness. Okay, now I want you to imagine someone who tends to avoid things. They tend to avoid difficult conversations. They tend to avoid looking in the proverbial mirror. They tend to avoid looking at their bank account. They tend to... Okay, here's an example. Talking about their career. They tend to avoid those conversations. They don't really want to talk about their career because it's overwhelming. They don't really want to talk about their financial goals. They're not often talking about the future. That's someone who has a subconscious aversion to seeking truth. And so I think on this episode, what we want to really get across is not just to become a truth seeker, but how do you actually do that? And then what's the benefit? And when you do get difficult truths, I remember, you were suicidal, I got in that car accident. That's when you and I had to face the truth. For me, the truth was I didn't maximize my potential. I'm not proud of the man I've become. I got a second chance. My father didn't. What am I going to do with this? For you, you had to realize that you were on the road 10 months out of the year. You didn't spend a lot of time with friends and family. You didn't like your job, and that you traded everything in for money. And again, I'm paraphrasing, but we were forced to face the truth because in the face of life and death, you really do have to look in that mirror. You're kind of forced to. We're saying let's do that proactively so that you don't have all the regret at the end.
Yeah, and when Alan says the mirror, it's literally, for me, I think it's something that either keeps happening and you brush it under the rug. Don't start smiling. Don't start giggling on me. I always being short. Don't start giggling now. Don't start giggling now on me.
I'm trying not to.
Here we go.
For the listeners, 10, Kevin and I are extremely, extremely giggly. Yes. And we're just happy. Good moods. We're in good spirits.
This is what we'll give you a little behind the scenes. If you're a podcaster out there and you're struggling when it comes to, speaking or laughing or giggling, pretend you're in front of either your girlfriends and you're doing something really serious or 10,000 people. That's what Alan and I always say. When we're struggling, 10,000 people. There's 10,000 people watching us. You better figure it the F out. So when I think about a mirror, I think about something that I have hidden from in the past.
Right.
Being short. Right? That's a mirror that I have to look in that you're kind of insecure about this. You have to face that. I use another example. Alan, myself, Eddie Pinero, shout out to Eddie Pinero, shout out to Alex Hinkle. We're down in Florida. hammering a workout in Eddie's apartment. Afterwards, we started talking about business. I got super insecure. I had to take a look and say, why do I not feel good about myself right now? That's me looking in the mirror. I could very easily pretend it's not a big deal. I could very easily pretend it's not real. But I had to look into that mirror. The team, like everybody on the team right now is trying to get more clear on things.
Right.
And then a couple members of the team have been having a ton of mirrors recently. And I think it's pretty much par for the course.
Right.
Because as your awareness raises, you're going to realize, okay, maybe I'm not as good at this. Maybe this is something I've never experienced before. This is a fear of mine. It makes sense. As you continue to climb the mountain, you're going to experience things that you've never had the opportunity to experience.
There's a lot of different stories I could tell here, but the check-ins that Emilia and I do, those difficult conversations where you ask a question. So I'll just give you some examples of questions that we use. One is, where, if anywhere, do you feel misunderstood in our relationship? I ask her that regularly. And it's like, if she tells me that she feels misunderstood somewhere, it's perception versus reality. If I perceive that our relationship is great and that she feels fully understood, heard, seen, her truth is a mirror to me. It's a mirror of is our relationship, am I doing as well in our relationship as I thought I was? Right. And so I think what the mirror is, it's the reality. And Kevin and I are challenged constantly with communicating the reality to people. Because you've heard us say a million times, it's really nice to set the intention to earn $1 million, but do you actually understand what that requires of you? I remember, David Meltzer talking about like how a lot of entrepreneurs, they'll talk about being a billionaire, but you might have to spend 3, invest 3 in order to make 1. Right. What he's saying is a company that that grosses $4 billion, but has to spend $3 billion just to get that $1 billion profit. But if you don't understand business, I probably already just lost you. And I think that's what this podcast episode is about. That's the big idea here. Start seeking the difficult truth, and I promise you, yes, it will hurt, but it will also help you level up.
It's necessary.
It's necessary.
It's necessary. A great example of this would be like relationship counseling. You could literally pretend that everything is fine. Mm-hmm. When you go to a counselor, Tori Aletto, a Maya Diamond, any of these people,
right?
What you're doing is you're literally seeking the difficult truth. You're going to sit in that room with your significant other. You're both going to express your truths. The counselor or therapist, whatever they're considered, is going to be in the middle and try to, hear both sides and give you advice. If you don't fix it, it's going to get worse.
Right.
So my main intention for this episode is to get you to understand that you can run from something for your entire life, but it will catch up eventually. And even if it doesn't catch up, best case scenario, you somehow get away from it, you're still not going to be able to get to the next level of your life because it's always going to hold you back. You can avoid the pain for your entire life, but you're also going to be avoiding the pleasure that you would get if you overcame that as well. So it sounds so difficult, and it is. It's not easy. But start small. Like start with one of your friends who you trust and just say, hey, how does it make you feel when I do this? Right? Or something. Like if you're late and you know your friend is bothered, ask like, hey, how did it make you feel when I was late today? Easy, right? That's an easy opportunity. You can start asking anybody in your life for a little bit of feedback. You don't have to get it all at once. But, it's Amy sent me a message and said, like, how do you keep looking at mirrors so consistently and keep showing up? And I said, it's a muscle. It's practice. The mirrors I get now weren't the mirrors I was getting at the beginning.
I know. It's almost like you wouldn't get them.
You couldn't.
Why is that?
Because you're not at the level. If you're living and again, this doesn't mean you're a bad person. This is just literally for the sake of measurement. If you're living a level 1 life, that comes with level 1 problems. Right. And probably a level 1 awareness.
Right.
When you get to level 4, you get level 4 problems with a level 4 awareness.
Yeah.
And you can reflect on level 1, 2, and 3.
I want to reframe problems to challenges.
Yeah.
But yeah, same idea. And I think that one of the other things that's jumping off the page in this episode as well is that I remember saying, like, you either are a truth seeker or a truth avoider. And I think we're all both in certain arenas. Maybe you seek truth in business. I know I'm someone like that. But in my relationships, I didn't seek truth as much as I could have, and I've since reversed that several years ago. But and the mirrors are huge there. But I think that another pre-frame here is it's almost like if you don't want to elevate to the next level, you won't have to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're, and just for the sake of numbers here, let's say you're living a level 4 life right now, and you're listening to this show because you want to get to level 5, whatever chapter 5 looks like for you. You're going to have to read chapter 4 and understand it at a deeper level in order to get to level 5, but that might be a mirror of like, oh, you know what? I actually don't know that much about money.
Right.
You know what? Honestly, I'm really not the entrepreneur I thought I was. Now that I admit that, I'm kind of lost. Okay, now I can go get a coach. Now I can go get a mentor. And we're going to talk about that on a later episode, the importance of getting coaches. Why? Because they're already at chapter 12.
Right.
If you know, Dave is at chapter 12 and we're at chapter 6. He remembers what chapter 6 was like, and he can give us the cheat codes at chapter 6, 7, 8, 9. And so I think what's important here is, I think, number one, if you do have big goals, you're not going to be able to avoid the truth. If your goal is just to pay the bills, you most likely can do that fairly easily. But if your goal is to donate $100,000 to charity every year, you're going to have to look in the mirror of, you know what, I don't know how to start a nonprofit. I don't know how to start a podcast. I don't know how to, you know, speak on social media to help other people, you know, understand why we're doing what we're doing and to get funding. It's almost like the mirrors you are forced to look in will be predicated on the size of your goals.
Yeah. It's awareness.
Right.
Is really what it is. Like when you say I had a mirror moment, or there's been a lot of mirrors, it means that you're being tested to level up your awareness. Something has been brought to your attention that you had never seen before.
I know.
And you don't know how to deal with it necessarily. It shakes it like rattles you.
Yeah.
Like the old snow, it, you know, shakes the snow globe.
Right.
It's going to happen if you're growing, most likely. If you want to play it safe and you want to stay the same and you want to stay, we say play small. If you want to play small, you're probably not going to face a lot of mirrors.
Yeah.
It's almost like...
And therefore you won't get much growth.
Yeah, the further you go in your journey, the more mirrors you will face. And honestly, the more difficult they'll be in relation to the size that you're at.
Right, just like fitness.
Yeah.
That's the best analogy I can ever come up with. It's if you don't want to squat 500 pounds, that's okay. But you're not going to have to learn how to squat 100, 200, 300, 400, and then get to 500.
Right.
And you won't have to learn about mobility. You won't have to learn about good hydration. You won't have to get 8 hours of sleep. You won't have to protect your time. You won't have to eat nutrition and hit your macros. It's almost like, I think I've always been a huge advocate of goals, but again, I talk about that episode we did a long time ago about the 7 reasons why to set a goal. And it was the 7th reason was to actually get the actual goal. The reason to set big goals has nothing to do with getting the goal. I think it has to do with it forces you to believe in yourself. It forces you to take action. It forces you to fail forward and then look at those mirrors when you fail. Mm. You know, if you got a B+ on an English test and you thought you'd get an A, that B+ is an indicator that you didn't know the material as well as you thought. It doesn't mean you're a B+ person. It just means that your level of competence in English is a B+ based on that specific test. What do? Do you study more next time? Do you say, you know what, maybe I need to read more books? Maybe I need to practice writing? Maybe I need to whatever. I think that report cards, progress reports, all that stuff we grew up with, I think those are all supposed to be mirrors, but I don't think people taught us the value of mirrors. I told you the story one time, Kev. I used to be a really lanky guy, right? 6'2", just skinny, tall and skinny. And I remember I came back from California, and I had stopped lifting for a time, and I went to the gym. It was Blackstone Valley Fitness, I believe, and I literally couldn't even look in the mirror. I was so demoralized by my lack of progress that I went into the bathroom and I cried, and then I ended up leaving the gym. I didn't even work out. I just left. And what it really was is I looked in the mirror and I was so disheartened by how much progress I had lost that I felt terrible, and I just wanted to go and probably watch House, my favorite show back then. Which, go figure, has to do with life and death and such. And I feel like that's really the reason I listened, or rather watched that show, is because it helped me realize that, like, some people are near death and you have this gift of life, and what are you going to do with it? But me looking in that mirror made me very disheartened, and I ran from it. Instead of, Alan, you lost all that progress. This is how you look, and you're upset with yourself, and it's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to do something about it. Instead, I just ran from it. Genuinely. I ran from the truth that I'm tall and lanky. I ran from the truth that I had lost all that progress. I ran from the truth that I hadn't been taking my fitness goals seriously. I ran from the truth that I was drinking too much. And so that's one example of an actual mirror, but everything's like that.
And the beautiful thing is you can always, and I'm not advising you to do this, but I tell the story of when my ex broke up with me and left me. That was a huge mirror moment. I wasn't ready to look in the mirror yet, so I made excuses. I probably called her crazy and said, like, I don't know, she's crazy, she left me, blah, blah, blah. When I was ready to look in the mirror, that mirror was still there, and I looked in it and said, like, okay, well.
What did that mirror show you?
That I was codependent, that I put a lot of my value into the partner I was with, that I wasn't as happy as I let on, that I was depressed, that I was, like, a lot of things. The mirror for me was like, this is actually who you are. Mm-hmm. Who you are alone is who you are as a person. And that's, for me, that was what I learned.
This podcast is a mirror.
Every time.
Every single episode is a mirror of, like, on this episode, we're trying to communicate this idea.
It's hard. It's a hard idea.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Of not avoiding difficult truths. Let's do this. What's one difficult truth that you've faced that we can give to the listeners to try to face right now to get to the next level?
Honestly, and you guys, we've talked about this in the past, like a year, probably maybe a year and a half, a year ago maybe, I had the difficult truth of the fact that I wasn't going to be successful in terms of financially if I didn't change my behaviors, if I didn't learn how to do sales, if I didn't learn how to get on the phone with people, if I didn't learn how to get clients. Like, that was a really hard mirror of, honestly, like, and I wouldn't say this to somebody, but you're not good enough at sales. You're not good enough at getting clients. You're not good enough with money yet. That's a hard mirror, right? It's a hard mirror for somebody who wants to be very, very successful and be able to donate large amounts of money and have nice things. That was a huge mirror for me. And I made it my focus to get better.
Right.
It's all a mirror is a new level of awareness. You get to decide what to do with it.
Right.
I decided that, all right, well, it hurts, it sucks, it stings, I feel insecure, I don't feel like I'm enough right now. Let me sit on it. Okay, the next couple days I start learning, and things are a lot different now. And I'm still like, there's mirrors out there that I haven't faced yet.
Right.
All right, I'm going to probably come across a mirror tomorrow.
And so the mirror you're suggesting they look at is?
I think in this weird way, like, I think what the mirror you should be looking in is. I think everybody knows, like, one. It could be a tough conversation. It's a mirror that you're not willing. It's the feedback of the tough conversation you're not willing to do. Everybody knows. Like, if I said to you, what is the one thing in your life that you should be doing but you're not? That's probably somewhat of a mirror.
Yeah. I told you one of mine earlier.
Yeah.
I'm talking to my sister. Yeah, that's a good point. We should all be asking ourselves that more regularly. What's the one? Two things came up for me. One is doing more mobility. And then number two is talking to my sister about something that I've been unintentionally avoiding. And I think we all do it. We're all guilty of this. It's just which area. Right? Yeah. It's like, if you're really good at business and finance, most likely it's something in your intimate relationship or family. If you're really good at health and fitness, you're probably looking in those mirrors. And then, by the way, go figure. The thing we're competent at, the thing that we're good at, is the thing that we're used to looking in the mirror. That's how we became competent. Right. It's such a trip. One takeaway to get to the next level from me.
From Jeff. Deep exhale, deep in thought.
Okay. Okay, this is all I would say. Health, wealth, and love. I want you to rate yourself from 0 to 10 in each of those categories. Whichever category gets the lowest of those 3, there's a difficult truth you've been avoiding. Go find it.
That's fire. I think, and the other thing too, and I'll end on this, not all mirrors are intentional. Sometimes you're just going to be going along your journey and you're going to almost, not all of them, but most of them are unintentional. They're just like, it's basically the door to get to the next level. Like, you have to look at this, you have to figure it out, you have to face it, you have to get over it, and then you get to go to the next level, and there's more mirrors there too. I don't want to make it sound like it's a negative thing. It's an awareness thing. Mm-hmm. That's all. Will it be painful? Of course. But growth is often painful.
Yeah.
And the other side of that is the person that you want to be.
No pain, no gain.
# no pain, no gain. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are looking to start a podcast, if you have a podcast that you want to monetize, if you're trying to figure out how to get next level guests or get on more shows, a whole mess of things, DM me at NeverQuitKid. I will help you. I have been helping clients for over a year now. One of my clients just crossed episode 100. I have consulting clients, all sorts of different clients. So I will help you with your podcast. That is my mission and my passion. So just DM me or email me, kevin@nextleveluniverse.com.
If you have a business, want to start a business, or even just want to grow in your career. A lot of my clients actually just want to make a higher income within corporate America. Or, yeah, in this case, actually, I have one client in the UK as well. But the point is this. If you want to make more money, help more people, and maximize your potential, I'm your guy. Please reach out. Also, every Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have weekly masterminds. Why should you attend the weekly mastermind? Number one, you're going to be a part of this next level community in a much more intimate fashion. Imagine going to a concert with people who have that core value versus watching it on YouTube. It's two different things. You can ask your questions live. You're going to connect with people. As a matter of fact, we have written in the pre-mastermind checklist Instagram handles. What we have is we have you put your Instagram handle in the chat only if you want to, totally voluntary, but that way you can connect with people offline. Let this podcast be the core value you have in common. Not the podcast, but growth. Let growth be the core value in common, and those masterminds are perfect for that.
Fire. I think that's it.
Yep.
I think that's it. You think that's it?
I think that's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed this. So on Friday, on Christmas,
Oh, yeah?
this is going to be Christmas. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. We are going to talk about, for episode number 515, do you really need a coach? Like, do you actually need a coach? The person listening to this, you right now thinking, do I actually need a coach? We're going to talk about why you do, why you don't, maybe not. We'll see what happens. We hope you enjoyed this. We don't have fans, we have family. We will talk to you on the next one.
Talk to you soon.